Hey, friends, and thank you for tuning in to the Occlusal Table, where we bridge dentistry with business, culture, and current events. I'm your host, Taylor Jackson, and for today, we'll be taking a deeper look into our Match Day series and finding out how to match into your top dental anesthesia program. Let's get started.
Hi, my name is Vivien. I'm originally from the Bay Area in California, but right now I'm in Vegas. I'm in my fourth year at UNLV, and last November I matched to Stony Brook for their dental anesthesia program, which has been really exciting.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, congratulations, Vivian, for matching into a dental anesthesiology program. And I am so happy to have you here on the show. So I guess we can go ahead and dive into some questions and just talking about a little bit about your dental journey. What led you to dental school? What made you become interested in dentistry or even become interested in dental anesthesiology?
Yeah, I think for me, I got into dentistry because I was really into working with my hands, and I was also really into science. And I was a psychology major in college, and so the idea of helping people, my goal was to always help people with anxiety, dental anxiety, and in a way that kind of translated into me pursuing a career in anesthesiology, because a lot of the patient population are patients who have severe dental anxiety, or don't have the mental capability of understanding, like really young children who don't understand how dental offices work, things like that. And yeah, I think in a way though, like in dental school, I didn't think that I would do anesthesia. I don't think we get a lot of exposure to it in dental school. But I always knew that I wanted to specialize, because general dentistry just felt a little too broad for me. And so, like my first 3 years, I was trying to figure out what I want to do. And I had a patient with really severe dental anxiety. She would just like tremble at the mention of the word needles. And so I connected her to our GPR program. And so, in the process of arranging for anesthesia services, is when I kind of got exposed to anesthesia. And so, and around the same time, like last year, I was an editor for Contour, which is the magazine run by the Student Dental Association. And we had an issue on residencies. And so I said, oh, I want to do a piece on dental anesthesia. And so I got to speak to Dr. Rozdolski at Turo and Dr. Epstein at Stony Brook. And I learned more about the field, and I just loved it. And so I think that's when I reached out to the D8R school and I shadowed for a bit. And that was really awesome. And then I did some more externships, and then I shadowed Dr. Lemon, who was on the podcast before, I think. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into dentistry and anesthesia.
Excellent. So then let's go ahead and go a little bit deeper into the application process. So, you've decided you wanted to go into dental anesthesia, and now you're looking at all the list of schools that are available for the dental anesthesia program. So then
Mhm.
what was your criteria in selecting those programs? Was it location? Was it a stipend? Do you guys get stipends? Or what was the criteria for you so that you selected which schools that you wanted to apply to?
Yeah. So there's 6 programs that accept students right out of dental school. And there's 2 more that I think they require a GPR program or a GPR experience, and then 1 more in Canada. And so those 3 I didn't research too much into because I knew I probably wouldn't apply there. The 6 that I did apply to, they're all on the East Coast. So that's just something to think about for people maybe in the West Coast, they don't want to move too far. Some stuff that I asked residents and the program directors was, what kinds of cases do the residents do on a regular basis, right? um, Do they see a lot of PEDS cases? You know, a lot of once you're out practicing, a lot of your patients are going to be PEDS patients. So do you get a lot of experience with that? Do you get a lot of special needs cases? Do they have any issues fulfilling requirements? Because we have a minimum number of requirements for, or cases for requirements. And at least the programs that I talked to, they didn't have any issues fulfilling requirements. So that was really great. And I'm sure the other three are also great as well with that. And how much outpatient experience do you get? Because most of these residencies are hospital based. So you see a lot of, general medical cases. You see, OB-GYN, trauma, ENT, but how much dental experience do you get in residency, right? How do you get to do some shadowing or, even practicing out in private practice, stuff like that you could always ask about. One thing that I also think you could think about is, what's your studying style, right? Are you able to study on your own? And generally for this residency, you need to be sort of individually motivated because you are kind of playing catch up to the medical residents. But like at Stony Brook, they give you designated days to study. And so like if that was you, and would you use that day to study, or would you maybe not be motivated, right? So those are things that you can think about. I think externships really helped in deciding where I wanted to apply to or how I would rank. You can talk to the current residents and, kind of get the vibe of the place. You can talk about cost of living, kind of the realities of living in a different place, right? Especially New York programs it's very expensive to live out there. Any big city, I think, So yeah, those are some things you can think about.
Actually, we can go ahead and talk more about those externships, Vivien, because
Yeah.
like, how did you coordinate those externships? Did you reach out to the program director? Did you reach out to residents? How did you even get a chance? Was it in person? Was it virtual? What was that experience like doing externships?
Yeah, it was kind of tricky because we were just coming out of COVID. So I know before there were a lot more externships available. I think the year before me, they actually canceled all externships because of COVID, but we were kind of lucky in that around the summer, they were just starting to open up. And so I think in April-ish, I went to Arizona for an NYU rotate, or because they do outpatient rotations in Arizona, even though they're NYU. So I did that, and then in August I did externships at Ohio, Jacobi, and Stony Brook. So I did about 4. You coordinate those with the program director. And so you just email them, just say you want to come out and see what it's like out there. Some programs, they have like a whole list of documents that they need from you before you can go visit them in the hospital. And I think those are mainly like the hospital-based ones because they need all the paperwork. For like NYU and Stony Brook, we were doing like outpatient stuff for the externship, so they didn't require that kind of like, health questionnaire, all that stuff. They didn't require that. Let's see. I felt like the hospital externships were really valuable just because outpatient stuff you can kind of shadow around like locally if you have a DA next to you, but hospital ones are kind of harder to experience without that connection. So, and it's like a very different setting, like the OR compared to like a dental clinic. So if you get a chance to, see in a hospital anesthesia case, I think I would definitely recommend that. And again, it's like a chance to meet all the residents who are there and see if they're happy at their program and things like that.
How many like dental resident or dental anesthesiology residents are usually in certain programs? Like, what's the average, or what's the biggest you've seen, or the smallest number?
Mm-hmm. I think right now, so Stony Brook has 4, and I think Ohio and the Illinois program, they have 2 each. And then NYU has 6. And then Pitt also has 4. And then Shoot, am I leaving one out? I think I'm leaving one out. Wait, let me see. Jacoby also has 4. Yes. So it's like from 2 to 6. I would say average is 4, but yeah, not a lot of spots overall, I would say, but
Nice, cool. So then at least there gives some leeway, so that you can have at least some other co-residents with you versus like some other programs that may just have like one, maybe 2 spots available for that year.
right.
And then you also talked about, writing in contour, like for ASA and everything. What other things did you have on your CV as far as like leadership, community involvement, or research? What do you think were the biggest things that programs looked at, or something that was a highlight on your CV?
Um, so some things I included were research experience. I did a research piece on education, like dental education, and we're in the process of publishing it right now, but I at least got to present the poster, which is something that you can definitely include in your CV. Um, People, I would say, interview wise, they asked most about contour. I think they were really interested in that editor experience. Let's see. I included some college experiences also just because I felt like they were relevant to anesthesia. So one was I did an internship at a mental hospital, and I also did developmental psychology research in college, and so I got to work with a lot of kids, and so I felt like that was relevant. Um, Let me think. And then I also included all the publications that I had, and Contour also really helped me with that because I got to write as well as edit. So
Cool. Yeah. So you can really talk about all of that relevant experience that you had, like even starting in undergrad, before you even knew that dental anesthesia was a route that you even wanted to pursue just yet.
yeah.
So that really did help out. So then what about your personal statement? What was your story like? Or do you think that highlighting those experiences from undergrad helped out a lot? Or do you think the experiences that you had in dental school is what helped shape your personal statement?
I kind of included everything that you mentioned. I Let me think. I can kind of go through. Let me see, because I have my personal statement in front of me right now. So I feel like the personal statement is like that section where you can show off your personality, and I would like definitely use that to your advantage. And so like some things that I look or included were, how I was introduced to anesthesia, some relevant extracurriculars like the college ones that I mentioned, and I also talked about the externships and like what I learned from that experience, and why I wanted to do anesthesia. I think that's always the big question, right? And then I kind of rounded it off with the long-term goals that I have in the career. And yeah.
So any tips for building like the total application? Like, do you think that there were any parts that really stood out? Or what do you think are some tips that if you could have, I guess, give to someone who's interested in applying to dental anesthesia to make sure that they have and like a true checkbox for their application?
Something I wish I did earlier was I wish I reached out to the program directors a little bit earlier because it's still a very small field right now. And so, everyone knows each other in the field and they're all really supportive and so nice. And so if you just reach out to them, like send them an email, say, I'm interested in the field or I'm interested in your program. Would you mind setting up like a quick meeting that we can talk? And they're all so nice about it, and I think that's something you could also do to network too, right? Kind of in a way show yourself before you even apply, right, so that they get to know you. Something that's not relevant for me but is relevant for future applicants is that I think they're going to start requiring the CBSC exam now. And so I didn't have to take it, but I know some of the third years at our school are interested, and the exam is only administered twice a year. So I think this year was like February and July. So you have to like time that, because if you miss that, then if you need to retake it, you might not get a chance to for the cycle. So that's something to think about as well.
Yeah, I've talked with some of my classmates that went the oral surgery route and had to take that exam, and I've heard that it's a beast. So,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
can only imagine. But I mean, I'm sure there's some overlap, between like the medical side and of course the dental anesthesia side. So it will definitely help in the long run. But it's definitely a lot of work and time to invest into when preparing for that exam.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think all my OS friends, they had to take it multiple times, and I've heard that's the norm. Just because, like you said, it's a very difficult exam.
Right.
Yeah,
And the dental anesthesia program, that's 2 or 3 years, or is it 4 years? How many years is the program typically?
it's 3 years. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it used to be two, but then they increased it to three, and now it's three for all the programs.
Awesome. So then what were your interviews like when, go like were they all virtual? Were some of them in person? How did you maneuver in those interviews? Like did you get some bizarre questions or things that you expected?
Yeah, interviews were all virtual for me. I know they really wanted to do in person, but I guess this year it just didn't work out. I think they're really trying though to get back into in-person interviews, just so that the applicants get a chance to see around the hospital and like, I don't know. I feel like in person and virtual, it just like doesn't really compare, but we did the best we could virtually, I think. It's like obviously a very nerve-wracking process. But everyone, like I said, everyone is generally very nice and they know you're nervous, especially the residents, because it depends on the school, but most times you get to speak to both residents and the faculty members. But the residents they were like, hey, we've been in your shoes there. And so they like really try to like get you to be comfortable. Um, some of them were like, I'm trying to think. Some of them were like group interviews where there were like multiple residents on that side versus, and then while some of them they separated into different rooms. And so you would speak to faculty members and the residents like individually for like 10 minutes at a time. There was one interview I had, which kind of threw me off guard, was I won't say the school, but they didn't ask any questions. They were like, do you have any questions for us? And that was basically the interview. And I'm not sure if it's because they already knew everything they needed to know and they just wanted to answer my questions, or if they just wanted to see how interested you are in their program. But I would say definitely have a lot of questions ready, just so you're not searching for things to say. Um, a common question that I think everyone asked was, why anesthesia? And tell me about yourself. So I would practice those questions. Like, don't practice it so that you're like memorizing it, but like, just so that you're not like stumbling over your words. Let's see. Oh, some programs, they ask you to record a video and submit a video prior to the interview. And so they give you like a week or two to do it. So it's not like a thing you have to do right away, but that's just something to think about also. And let me think. Oh, one more thing is have good lighting if you're in the West Coast, because like I said, all the programs are in the East Coast, and sometimes they start at 8 a.m., which is 5 a.m. our time, and there's like no sunlight at that point. So just have good lighting. I know some people bought like a ring light for the interview. So yeah.
And it's funny that you say that, Vivien, because for one of my peds interviews, we had like 8 interviews back to back, like all in one day. And
Yeah.
in one of those segments, it was just a time where he's like, I've seen your application. It's nice. I'm sure you're tired of being asked questions all day. How about you just ask me questions? Same thing. So I had to just fire out questions. And I'm glad I had a list of questions that weren't like, the typical questions that you can either find like information on the website, and things like that. So definitely got to be on your toes with that one.
Yeah. And I think it's also good to kind of have an idea of what their program is like beforehand. That way you can ask, like you said, like more individual questions instead of like you know, the common
The
questions.
general broad ones,
Yeah,
yeah.
just show that you're interested, you know?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
then, as we wrap things up, are there any other pieces of advice or tips that you'd want to give to aspiring applicants that want to one day be in your shoes?
Like I said, the field is really small. So as long as you show that you're really interested and invested in being a part of this career, I think you'd have a really good shot. It's everyone is super nice, so feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to any of the program directors. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to talk to you.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. I love it. You really did drop some gems today. So, and I'm sure anyone that's interested in pursuing dental anesthesia, would definitely want to reach out to you. But before we close out, if this episode has helped in any way, please be sure to click the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up so that we can reach more viewers like you. So, Vivien, do you have any closing remarks or any Instagram or email that you'd like to share with some of our listeners so they can reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, I'd like to say thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun, like reflecting on the whole application process, which was very nerve-wracking, but really exciting at the same time. And I hope some of what I said today was helpful. And good luck to all the applicants. And you can definitely feel free to reach out to me. My Instagram is Vivien, so VIVIEN Yeah, feel free to DM me.
Perfect. Yes, I'm sure people definitely will be reaching out to you and messaging you. But that's all that we have for today. So thank you for sitting with us at the table. And remember to stay flossing and keep flossing. Bye, guys.
Bye.